Hi everyone! In this video, you'll see how I repaint a typical bazaar-style Triceratops figure, trying to give it the best look I can, despite my lack of experience. This is my second repaint and my very first video, so I apologize if the footage, format, and overall quality aren't the best. I hope you'll understand. Now let's get into it. Enjoy the video. Here's the figure. To make it easier to paint, I've stuck some pins into its legs to hold it in place with a tool. First, we'll paint the whole thing gray to give it a base coat, since the original red is way too bright and saturated. Next, we'll paint the belly and generally the lower part of the dinosaur with a dark cream color. By the way, don't worry too much about small painting mistakes at this stage. We'll be adding more layers later on that will cover up those errors. Once the paint is dry, we'll apply a very light layer of a lighter cream color using the dry brush technique. This involves loading the brush with a lighter paint, wiping off the excess on a piece of paper, and then gently brushing it over the figure. This helps highlight the race details like the scales, adding more depth and definition. The following step is to paint the entire upper part of the body brown, except for the head. Now, just like before, we'll use the dry brush technique to apply a layer of beige, similar to the color used on the belly. Look how nice the result turns out with this technique. That said, the lamplight makes the color difference look a bit exaggerated and overly saturated, but you'll see how good it really looks in the end under more natural lighting. The next step will be to mix brown and black and apply that mixture to the upper part of the body. Using light brown, and yes, once again with the dry brush technique, you know the drill by now, we'll go over the layer we applied earlier. That's when the trouble started. My original idea was to paint the head a light green and add some brown stripes on top, followed by a black wash. But things quickly went downhill when the stripes ended up way too thick. Turns out even my finest brush is still too big for that kind of detail. Since I wasn't happy with how it looked, I decided to start over. This time I covered the whole head in a dark green and, of course, used a dry brushing again to go over it with a lighter green. The final result? Amazing. I absolutely nailed the green combination. I painted the horns, frill, and snout with a mix of gray and blue. Then, yes, once again, using the dry brush technique, which I've probably mentioned about 300 times in this video, I added a touch of white to bring out the details. We'll paint the claws using the brown and black mix, although this part is really up to personal preference. In my case, I let that first layer dry completely, then added a second coat in gray to make them stand out a bit more. I ended up painting the eyes too, though I did that off camera because it's incredibly tricky to film while working on them. I really need a tripod. And here it is, the final result. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and I really enjoyed the process. I did struggle a bit along the way, but it was totally worth it. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you. Your support means a lot and helps me keep creating more content. See you in the next video.